Hey guys, this will be video 5 for the how to design build a 58 Explorer replica out of black Limba, which is also called Korina. I've got quite a bit done since the last video where I was just talking about how to shape your neck and whatnot. I got the neck finished as far as all of the machine work that I had shown and all the final shape work. And it's pretty close to finished. It's fairly close. Didn't do any headstock work, but obviously got the neck glued in, epoxy glued in, and I might talk about that a little bit. Some people would frown on that, but I like the idea of using the epoxy because it really increases the tone, and it also increases the strength. So I've seen a lot of old guitars where they took just a minimal fall and they had enough concussion that the neck broke loose from the body, and it wasn't even really a catastrophic fall. So anyway, a real strong joint where whether it's either tight bond or epoxy or whatever, pick your poison, that you could use there. Just make certain you do a really good fit job and a really good glue job. And if you do have some sort of a damage, maybe you'll only be doing headstock repair. Okay. But let me do a little bit of a general flyby. And just kind of show you what you could begin to see as it's materializing. See a little bit of that tongue coming out of the or the tenon coming out of the body. I set this neck a little bit lower than into the body, a little bit deeper into the body than normal, probably close to a 1/16 of an inch. No, what am I saying? Not that much, about a 32nd of an inch. But by going about a 32nd of an inch deeper here, it dropped me about a 1/16 of an inch deeper back here, which is pretty cool because if anything, this is going to be a real low profile, sweet playing guitar. And I'll talk a little bit about some of those dimensions. But also, if I didn't mention in the front of the video, this is kind of just for mock-up purposes so that I can, I know there aren't going to be any clearance issues, but when you're building your guitar, make certain that you mock things like that up and just assess, direction of potentiometers and how, I don't know if I've got one or if it's in the body. I might have installed it in the last guitar. Well, it's around here somewhere. I had a, oh yeah, here it is. You have your capacitor. I like directing the master tone potentiometer. Obviously, well, you have no choice but to point it into the body. But rather than the bridge master volume or the bridge volume pointing in that direction back there, I like to point it towards the neck volume potentiometer. Therefore, it gives me plenty of clearance to install my, this is hard to hold, my capacitor back here and have plenty of clearance for that. So, and also not just for my installation, but for in the event someone wants to change this capacitor in the future. It's not if, but when. Eventually someone's going to want to change that to their own liking. So you want to make certain that you give them room to do the future work, keeping a really non-cluttered control cavity. So let's look at this joint a little bit back here. Really beautiful guitar. I'm just kind of showcasing, and I may have already mentioned it, but when it's epoxied in, the glue joint, the joinery always looks like it's going to be a dark line, but once you do your clear coat, every bit of that just vanishes and it fades into the body. So don't let that alarm you if you're working with epoxy. But turned out really good. I've still got a little bit of shape work to do on this heel. This will be, I'll be taking off about maybe a 1/16 of an inch and then squaring it up just a little bit, but not much. I just love this joint because basically after I do my final shape work by hand, I end up with kind of like a 59 Les Paul equivalent joint because quite frankly, the Flying V and the Explorer heel joint is really unsightly. It's just really very rough the way they did those. They're too square, and they actually have a lap joint. They don't even have a heel like this. There's a join here in the middle of the neck. It's just really an unsightly join. So even though this is a 58 specs, this is very much an improvement on how to do your heel, and that's just based on like the Stuart McDonald templates and the Les Paul 59 Les Paul. Okay. So I got to tell you, I can't imagine anyone not wanting the parchment. But and I don't have a black pickguard, but black would definitely look fine. It would be beautiful on this guitar. But let's just kind of look at what the black would look like against the black Limba. Got dust all over it. It's really beautiful. So you really couldn't go wrong whether you went with a black. It's like little poker chips. I think it's somewhere in that location right there. So you couldn't go wrong with the black. And while we're mocking this up, let's see what it looked like with the white. This white probably has the protective film on it, but or the parchment. I really like the parchment, but to each his own. And also, as I've mentioned in numerous videos in the past, a lot of times I do these videos for my own record keeping so that I can assess a build and, or if someone's asking me, hey, what would it look like if you did the black hardware? I can just send them to this video at a certain location in the video, a timestamp, and then it's their call if they like it or not. And it will save you a lot of money from just having someone manufacture a lot of custom covers, and then you don't even like the color after you receive it. So, but this guitar in the 50s, the parchment would have been the pickguard of choice, and it may have just been no, it probably was parchment right out of the gate, which is more of like a bone white. I don't think they were using any stark white material at all in the vintage guitars. And whomever came up and mixed this color here, the parchment white, it's spot on. I mean, it's beautiful. The parchment binding, and even the all parts cream is a real light cream. It's not yellowish brown. Oh, here it is. Wow, I'm actually looking at one. That's awesome. I keep this on the table for some. Well, it's funny how you don't see how dark a color is until you put it up against a different color. So it definitely is darker, but I got to tell you, I use this on a lot of my 59 Les Paul replica builds as the 60 thousandths binding, and it is stunning. It's really beautiful. Whether it's now I've got a gold top Les Paul replica over here behind me, but I have it all taped up where I was doing that, spraying the gold top. But anyway, and this will kind of give you an idea of what it would look like if you were to do a fretboard with a binding on it, at least to give you an idea. Okay. All right, so I'm kind of all over the map there. But, and this is not, I machine all of these, of course, as if you're just tripping up on this singular video. I'll take this second. From the Electric Herald drawings, which I download and then have printed off full scale, then I make my own templates out of a really fine, high quality, like cabinet grade, probably aircraft grade. This is birch, but this is a really fine 1/4 inch, if not, might be metric, but it's at least 1/4 of an inch. So therefore, you can make your own pickguards, and you have to, because this is just not something you can buy off the shelf. Okay, and then obviously the cool thing about having a template like that, you can do your initial build assessment with things like that before you pull out your really nice pickguard material and run the risk of dropping a tool on it and scratching it, stuff like that, because that's about 20% of building a guitar is making certain that you don't, you know, create any sort of damage before you get to the end of the job. Or if you do, how do you go about, repairing it and bringing it back alive and stuff like that? Okay, so I'll try to capture this in the camera. I think this is a really beautiful picture right here. Let me get that neck down as low as I can so you can see the profile. You can actually just see the design and how beautiful and how graceful it is. It's just a stunning guitar. Stunning guitar. Okay, so let me check this out. So what did I do since the last video? Well, I just glued the neck in. And how did I do that? I'm not going to go into how I did it, but if you want to know, just contact me and I'll try to find it in some of the past videos. But what it boils down to, and I shouldn't even be walking over there to pick up this material. But yeah, let's talk about this. It won't take a minute. You can use a C-clamp in the middle, but not as any sort of crushing pressure. I like using the C-clamp after I've put all my glue in or my epoxy, and I know that I'm ready to do the job. The first thing I install is I put a little block on the back of the body and protect it. A little medallion. I have a little plywood medallion with like faux case material, like faux leather, because I build custom cases as well. I'll put that on the back, and then the C-clamp will go back there, and that guarantees that I don't have any sort of scarring on the body, because this nasty old C-clamp would definitely tear up your wood. But nonetheless, I only use that for like caliper pressure, and just because I can tighten it down, and just gently hold it in place. But what really pulls the neck together is I actually have a strap, like trailer strap, that you would, strap your lawnmower down or your motorcycle. And then we'll go ahead and talk about this for about a minute or two. Well, no, I'm not, because I don't want to unravel that, because I'll be here all night. But for the most part, I'm just doing a strap around the back of the body and all the way up behind the back of the neck, all the way up to the headstock, staying on the center line. And obviously you've got a board, a real thin board up under your strap here, your mechanism. And then you're doing your ratchet clamping. And then this is really gentle. You're not torquing into this at all. All you're doing with this strapping is making certain that you're pulling the neck into those visible sides, the side here, and then the back. And then you let it dry overnight. And the cool thing about it is you're easing everything together. You can still reach in with your straight edge and assess heights and stuff like that. Let me back up. You actually should have done this in the dry to see where this neck actually went once you put a little bit of pressure here and a little bit of pressure in. Because if something was funky in your pocket, it sure would be nice for it to reveal itself before you got glue in there. And then with it being dry, you can run that straight edge. I'm just really disorganized tonight. I don't have I know I'm probably looking right at it, but I usually run a thinner straight edge. But you could just run like this straight edge up the side of your C-clamp, and just verify your height back here is holding about right at 3/8 of an inch, or maybe a 1/16 under. This one is a 5/16 of an inch, so it's a little bit lower profile, but it's still fine. But if you drop below that, you'd be getting dangerously low. Okay, so just read between the lines. Strap around the whole body, very gentle pressure. C-clamp will control it from blowing out of the body when you start pulling in on it. And you basically just want to reach up, be able to go flip on it like it's a guitar, or pull on it like it's a guitar string, and it'll go dum dum dum, and you'll hear it making a little bit of tone. So again, if you're truly interested in that, just shoot me a message and I'll find the video But I guarantee you it's probably in the very first video of how to design build a 58 Explorer replica out of flamed Korina or Limba per vintage specs. And I think that's from like 2 years ago. So I guarantee you I went into detail in that build because that was the first Explorer replica that I built where I was really scrutinizing every move that I made. So anyway, but if you can't find it, let me know. All right, so once you got the neck where you want, it's all glued in and all that jazz. You can come up here and yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about this. I got, oh, here it is. I'm sure it's still way over there. At this point, well, actually now I need the other one. At this point, you could have some masking tape on the body back here at the bridge location. Because what you're wanting to do at this point is determine did you truly keep it on the center line? And this is like even after the fact, after it's glued and it's a point of no return. In the event it got off a little bit, I'm exaggerating, of course, or it traveled up, or it traveled down, or it got out of yaw, then you would want to start assessing how you might want to correct it because it's too late to remove the neck out of the body. You've got to now prepare to start machining your fretboard so that it will. And I shouldn't be creating this hypothetical because it sounds like I build shoddy guitars. Every guitar that I build, I don't even have to think about that anymore. I know for a fact that I've already assessed that, and when I glue that baby in, this thing is going to be perfectly on center. But if you're building your first guitar, just assess the trapezoidal path, PATH, on the bass side and then on the treble side, and have some tape, masking tape down here at the anchor, tailpiece anchor location, and make a little fine pen mark or pencil mark right there, and then assess where that tick mark is in relation to the center line of the body and the tick mark over here in relation to the body. And if they're off drastically, well, then you need to start determining, can you salvage the guitar? But if you're only off like a 64th of an inch or so, just a microcosmic amount, don't worry about it. Put that baby on center and just be done with it. But if you got off like a 16th of an inch, that's getting pretty close to being, something where you truly probably want it. Let's say you cut it off centered this way a little bit. Uh, I would say shift this about a 32nd of an inch, kind of split the difference, and maybe shift this one a little bit more than a 32nd of an inch or something like that. Just there's a little bit of leadway here, and again, because my jigs are so precise, I don't even have to think about that. I could just glue that neck in and know that once my fretboard is machined on a taper and I've got it radiused and all that jazz and the fret slots cut and the mother of pearl is in, I can glue my fretboard down just by feel, feeling that, am I hanging over on the treble side or am I hanging over on the bass side? And the same thing at the nut location. All I do is glue that baby down according to the 19th fret location here, which I will then have a 19th fret location slot. And then I'm just gluing that fretboard down and assuring that it doesn't slip when it's glued on. And that's what I meant by if you do a really good job on the front end, building your guitar on paper and then on plywood possibly, or, like a fine plywood templates. And then once you start going to building the actual guitar, you will have already done all that machine work and you really won't have to think much anymore. And I don't know if I don't think I showed this in the camera. And unfortunately, I don't have a gold ABR1 bridge. I really wish I did because that would be beautiful. See how far I can tip this before it slides. Apparently not very far. But I guess where I'm going with this is I would highly recommend gold hardware on this body. If you were to go with a nickel, I would definitely go with a vintage nickel or a relic to help it look truly historically accurate. Because, wow, I'm drawing a blank here. I don't know if the 58 Explorer or the Flying V and all those guitars from the 58, I can't remember if they had nickel hardware or gold. And I don't know. So I should know that. I used to know that because that's when I first started building these replicas. Everything I was building was religiously per the original spec. I'm going to say it probably was gold because the first one I built, it had gold Cluson hardware on it. And it's all reproduction hardware. The Cluson Tulip 6 center in a line, right hand tuner, and then the gold ABR1 bridge with a nylon saddle. You can still get that from Cluson. And then the aluminum Cluson uh, gold plated tailpiece. Okay, and then your 5/16, I think 24 maybe threads studs. You want to go make certain that you go with the SAE or the Imperial. Don't go with metric, because if you go with metric, that might get you in trouble in the future if someone wanted to install a Vibramate, because the metric, they are a different center line on the anchor installation, could get you in trouble. In other words, don't go with a metric uh, bridge or tailpiece. That could get you in serious trouble if you ever wanted to change over to the SAE in the future, because the spacing will be inaccurate, especially if you're trying to install a Vibramate, because the Vibramate centering of the new screw locations or machine screw locations are going to be a little bit wider, and you'll have problems getting it in a metric laid out guitar. Okay. Okay, so let's. What else should I talk about? Let me think. I think I've already done enough of a flyby to. This might end up being a really short video because I kind of just wanted to capture the guitar, quite frankly, and as it's going together. But then also, just discuss some of the things that I'm considering as I'm building a guitar. And this applies to anything, whether it's an Explorer. This could apply to a Tele. If you're building a Telecaster. Um, that's the probably, I don't know. I've never built let me back up. I've built a ton of tellies, but I haven't ever built anything per 50 specs, like where I really opened up an old or looked at the old pictures of the vintage tellies and built per those specs. But I imagine if this was the top of the guitar, uh, oh no, I'm completely wrong. I just realized the telly only has a master tone and a master volume, to my knowledge, and then the three-way. So never mind. Anyway, never mind completely. And I don't want to start talking about tellies. Even though Simon, this guy in the UK that comments a lot, and Simon, I appreciate you watching, man. I really appreciate you commenting a lot. That really keeps me motivated to keep building guitars. But Simon was asking about, if I ever build tellies and stuff like that. And it was funny. I had this flashback of back in the early 2000s. I started building like Buck Owens Telecaster replicas, the silver sparkle top, because I was up in Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee area, and I had a buddy in town that was a drummer, pro drummer, and he would get all his drum parts from a place called Drum Supply House, and I would actually just go to Drum Supply House and I could buy the true Delmar drum sparkle wrap or perloid or anything you could want. He had it in stock, and I would buy the silver sparkle, the Christmas tree red sparkle. What else did I did? I bought the glass jet, where it's actually the glass sparkle, where it's broken glass, and I was building Buck Owens Telly replicas with the sparkle, with the sparkle top, silver sparkle, and then not the red, white, and blue, just the silver sparkle. And then I was binding them with an ivory parchment binding, and this is no joke. In the early 2000s, I was installing Gretsch Filtertron pickups in them, and it's funny because I don't think they started doing that Cabronita or Carbonita or whatever that guitar is until like 2008 or so. And I was actually building them and selling them on eBay as like Gretsch, yeah, like telejet hybrids is what I was calling them. And man, they were crazy. People love those things. If anything, I should start building those again. That was a fun guitar to build. And they were bolt-on necks. But I did do some that were epoxy glued in necks. It was really cool. They had a heel that looked very much like that. So just imagine a Telecaster that was still mounted at the 16th fret location, but it had a heel that looked very similar to that right there, going into an authentic like 50s Tele footprint body. It's really cool, and was doing clear pick guards for the most part. But if someone wanted, then I could do different colored pick guards as well, because I wanted to see all the silver sparkle just really, really pop. It was a cool guitar. Very cool design. So if you ever see one out there, it might be one that I built. Especially I shipped one to Arizona. I can't remember. I know the other one. There was one that went down to South Florida, and I think a couple of them went to the UK and Australia and places like that. So anyway, I apologize. I went off the tangent there. 26 minutes, I guess, because I don't really have anything else to talk about. So I will let you go. I'll just stop talking because there's really nothing to talk about other than, helping you move in this direction and just begin to lay out everything and make certain that it's going to fit. And also, this really helps motivate you if you're kind of getting tired, because you're about to enter into doing some really intricate work here with doing all your fretboard work and radius work and scale work and positioning and verifying links and stuff like that, and maybe real complex mother of pearl work. So it's going to take you more energy and time probably to build your fretboard than it is to just like build the body or rough out the body. And the neck is pretty time consuming, but nonetheless, this third component of this build being, body and then the neck and the fretboard, this is a pretty intricate part, and it can get a little daunting and overwhelming. So sometimes by doing something like this and maybe put your strap buttons on there and do a little bit of air guitar, it might motivate you to keep on building your guitar. Okay. So I'll stop talking right there, and I can't think of anything else. I'm gonna look around the shop that I should talk about, because video 4 was pretty in depth about how to build your neck, but I think I provided some good information there. Other than I made a huge mistake of not clarifying the importance of running those bits on a variable speed router control device. You really need to slow this baby down. Don't run these at full speed. You'll have horrific vibration. That's a pretty big bit. So anyway, make certain that when you're running a really large bit, slow your router down by using that variable speed control device. And I think you can get them at most of your big box stores. Probably, I know I've got the one I'm pointing at over there. I got it at Harbor Freight, and it was probably $20. It blew a fuse in it, and I just went in and took the fuse out, and I soldered it together, because it was kind of silly to have a fuse in there, I thought, because it was just problematic to take it apart and replace the fuse. And I just pulled the fuse out and soldered it together and hot wired it, because I'm connected into a power strip on the floor that has a breaker, a breaker switch in it that will kick if it overheats or something like that. So anyway, so I appreciate you guys dropping in, and I'll just end the video there, because I'm looking at the table and I don't see the reason to talk about anything I see. And what I may do is pause, because I just looked down at this drawing and I forgot to verify specs. Yeah, let me pause, and I promise I'll only spend about 5 minutes talking about dimensions. Okay, so to me, the most comfortable guitar is a guitar with these specs right here. And this is very close to the vintage historically accurate specs. 7/8 inch thick at your first fret location, which is 17 millimeter. Let me think. I'm almost confusing myself. I apologize. I think, yes, 7/8 is once it has the fretboard on it. Yeah, I'm completely losing my train of thought. Okay, let's talk about the finished guitar. When the fretboard is on it and you have the actual, radius fretboard finished before the frets are installed, obviously, at the first fret location, you want your neck to be approximately 7/8 of an inch thick for just a very general, very comfortable medium profile neck. If you are 7/8 of an inch thick at the first fret, you want to be 1 inch thick at the 11th fret. And that equates to 22 millimeter and 25 millimeter. Okay. And we'd already talked about in the past video how thick is the lower, and just going off the top of my head here, yeah, I can do this. 17 millimeter is this thickness here, and I'm not going to guess at the SAE or imperial. So 17 millimeter for the thickness of what I'm holding here in my hand, and 19 millimeter at the 11th fret location. You want your nut to be whatever nut width you want. I like the 1 in 23/32 inch, but right now you're looking at one. Now this one, I machine them at 1 3/4 if I have a client that's a little undecided, because that will guarantee that if they want the wide 1 3/4 inch nut, then I've got it. And if they decided to go 1 5/8, well, I might, I'll have a lot of work in store to shape it down to 1 5/8. But I've kind of clarified that stuff well before I did any of the machine work on the job on the front end. And most people just go 1 11/16 inch or 43 millimeter wide at the nut location. Down here, it can vary a little bit, but after it's all said and done, you want the fretboard to be no wider than a 2 1/4. And you could be as narrow. You could be slightly under 2 3/16 inch width up here, but if you start, the more narrow you get, pay an extreme attention to detail of how much you bevel the frettings. If you're wanting to do some real aggressive, like 45-degree beveling, be extremely careful, because if you build this neck like 2 1/8 inch width down here at the 23rd or 22nd fret location, or I'm gonna say 23rd because that's the end of the fretboard. If you build that like 2 1/8 inch, and then this is 1 5/8 inch up here, and then you came in with a 45-degree bevel on your frets, I don't think that's going to work. And I'm being, I'm exaggerating the dimensions here, but just proceed with extreme caution, because the cool thing about doing fret beveling work, I always start out with my frets beveled no more than about that amount right there. And that would probably be, I just can't get in the camera because I'm doing the best I can to hold it. But I'm looking at it, it's probably about 80 degrees or something like that. And that's pretty steep, but that's where I start out. And then I come back. I'm sorry, I should be showing. That's why I had this guitar on the table. Wow, that's crazy. All right, so there you have it. Yeah, see, that's about my bevel pitch right there. And right now on this guitar, I'm 2 1/4 wide on this one because I like the wide platform. And this one is, it's 1 in 23/32. So by the time you bevel your frets, then you've got plenty of room to roll over as well. So anyway, and these guitars are basically identical with respect to the footprint and the build. It's just that this one is the quarter sawn poplar body with a black nitro finish, and which turned out extremely well. Very happy with this guitar. I've shown it in some of the past videos as well, and I've actually played this guitar. It sounds incredible. Well, they all sound really good because I've built so many of them. I know kind of what to expect as they come together. So I gave you the dimensions. Just build it whatever nut width you want, but at the first fret, finish out about 7/8 inch thick. That'll give you a nice moderate medium profile. And 1 inch thick at the 11th fret, that'll give the appropriate taper in the neck. But if you want a fat, chunky, massive neck, then you might want to go up to 1 inch thick at the first fret. But I wouldn't recommend going like 1 1/8 of an inch thick up at the 11th fret. I would keep the profile very flat and maybe take the 11th fret location only up to like maybe 1 1/16 of an inch max, because I got to tell you that's a handful of a neck. If you go over 1 1/32 of an inch thick at the 11th fret, that's a handful of guitar, and it's amazing, especially this neck going all the way to the 19th fret location. You're going to be accessing that, and as this is tapering, is it's getting obviously a 16th fret location build like the Les Paul, well, they're stopping back here. You don't feel that additional taper, but if you get too fat and too thick on your neck, man, you're going all the way to the end of the scale almost, and you're going to feel it get really fat. Build your own guitar, as I always say, but just know that, if you read the dimensions on what is a really ideal Les Paul or a Gretsch Jet or something like that, be careful trying to transfer those dimensions over to a guitar design like this, because that's such a long neck profile. It gets you in a lot of trouble. And as I get older, I'm actually building my necks just a little bit thinner than I used to, and they're actually more comfortable as well. So anyway, I appreciate you guys dropping in, and in the next video, I will have this fretboard machined, and might even already have it installed, but if not, I'll talk about that a little bit as well, and we'll go from there. So I appreciate you dropping in. I'll see you later.